Okay, we're back. Continuing with the power smash shot. So to recap last time, we talked about pulling that bow and arrow back, keeping the target arm up, coming through with the rotation of the elbow, with the pronation forward, with our fingernails approaching the shot, and then smacking down on top with the forearm, wrist, finger power, and making sure we hear that swoosh sound. Now, something I didn't mention last time, which I want to reinforce now, is we talked about keeping a loose grip, but you really need to remember, and this is the reason I'm mentioning this, is because this is something I struggled with as I was changing my swing a lot, as I mentioned, as I progressed, was that I used to squeeze. If I knew I wanted to hit a smash, then I would add the tension too early. And what that does is it wastes the energy. You want to save all that energy for the point of contact. You don't want to tense up any muscles before you're actually hitting. And what I found was, and my coach together, we discovered that I was squeezing the racket early here, and that would open my racket face away from the net. So it's important and away from my body. So be aware if you're doing that naturally, because everybody's swing is going to be slightly different. I'm not here to say you have to swing exactly like I do, because I don't swing exactly like other people. And if you watch, the top 50 people in the world, they're gonna have slightly different swings, but the concepts are the same. So it's fine if you open up and turn your racket head away from you, as long as you're not adding the tension, which is what I was doing. I was adding the tension so it would pull my fingers up and away from me, which means I was wasting energy coming through. So be aware that you need to keep that grip loose until the point of contact. Another metaphor that I use for this is like when you see martial artists and they're able to hit through all those blocks of wood. You know the demo I'm talking about? The only way they can do that is because they accumulate all their energy, all that hula hoop metaphor of energy. They call it, and a lot of people call it, the chi that you collect, and then everything goes into that one point of impact. And that's how they're able to break those thick pieces of wood, when if they would tense up at all before the point of impact, then they probably wouldn't be able to, because it's that circuitry of energy that goes all the way into that saved until that moment of impact. So that's a metaphor I want you to think about as well as we progress through the smashes. Now, we talked about the upper body and we talked about the feet, but a crucial part that we haven't talked about is the core. And it's a highly underrated aspect of the power smash and all the shots, in my opinion. So many people play without activating their stomach, hips, back. All those muscles together add huge power into the shot. So an exercise I want you to try now, and if you're in a space where you can go down onto your knees, then do that, because even if you're not holding your racket, even without your racket, so the way to practice activating your core for the power smash is to line up like you would as if you were standing, and then to just think about, as you're hitting, contracting as you rotate through your stomach over top and your hips and back as you put the power into the shuttle. Because if I don't activate that, then I'll find it difficult to turn without that energy. Even if I've got a good arm power, if I don't activate the stomach and back and hips, then I won't get that rotation. So watch, this is me doing it wrong, just with my arm. Pointing up, checking loose grip. Even there, I naturally did activate part of my back, but then watch me activating my stomach, hips, and back. Then as I'm going back to the shot, I'm opening up the chest area, stretching the stomach out, and taking a twist action as I come through. Now a trick if you're finding this difficult, so if you're at home and you're not able to swing with your racket, you can still do it like this. coming through. You're not going to get the swoosh sound. But think about connecting that circuitry, stomach opening up, and then as you come through, contracting that stomach like you're doing a sit-up. That's part of why doing sit-ups is valuable for badminton, because we use that crunch motion as we move forward. Another great trick that I find helpful is to think about your breathing when it comes to this. So inhale as you're preparing to hit the shot, and then exhale as you're coming through and contracting your muscles. And make that sound, because that sound coming out is the abs and the back contracting and forcing the air out of your lungs. And another reason I love this exercise is because you're not hearing my racket collapsing and breaking on the ground, are you? That's purposeful, because a lot of people get a little out of control with their follow through. And after they swing, they let themselves wind up and then twist around. And what ends up happening is too much of their energy is shifting sideways as opposed to forward and over top of the shuttle. So another reason why that exercise is great is because it makes you become aware of your follow through. Now, I'm not saying that you need to stop your follow through here, but a lot of people will follow through too much. So be aware that I have some students and I call them nunchucks, because I call their racket nunchucks, because they hit and then it's like it comes through as if they could be doing all these fancy nunchuck moves. So you don't want to be using nunchucks after you hit. You want to stop the racket. It's okay to come down, but not all the way around and back, because then another consequence of that is that you won't be prepared for the next shot. So part of why we need the racket to be prepared for the next shot is because the power smash is such a fast shot. So my opponent is going to be returning the shot even faster than they would if I was hitting a slower shot, which means I then have to be ready for my own shot speed coming back again. No matter how good the smash is, and this goes for a rule, any of the shots, always anticipate that the shot is coming back. You can always be pleasantly surprised if it doesn't come back, but we never want to be caught startled that, whoa, they got that back, and then I'm not ready. So it's always better to be expecting the shot to come back and then pleasantly surprised when it doesn't, as opposed to not being prepared, having my racket down at my ankles, and then being caught, because that's how we're going to give the offense away. And the power smash is all about maintaining the offense. So now this is especially important for doubles and mixed players, because they smash a lot from the back line. Me, myself, I'm more of a singles player at heart. I played a lot of doubles and mixed doubles in my career, but singles is where my passion was. But for doubles and mixed players, and singles players for that matter, but especially for doubles and mixed, you need to be able to complete the power smash swing and have the racket come back up and be ready. So after you do that swing, it needs to come up, because you might need to swing again, and you might need to smash again, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times in a row. So you need to have access to that racket immediately after. A metaphor I like to think about is, it's like a life jacket going underwater, you know, and it pops right back up because it floats. So think of your racket like that. After you go through and you're in the water and then the racket's coming back up. The only way you're going to be able to bring that racket back up, though, is if you immediately release the pressure on your grip after you hit the shuttle. If you maintain a tight grip after the point of impact, then it's going to be very difficult to lift that racket back up. The racket's going to feel more like a tennis racket than a badminton racket, meaning it'll feel much heavier. So it's important after the point of impact that you release that pressure, let that pressure, or the speed and power, dissipate out into the air so that you can be fresh to accumulate more power for the next shot. So to recap, what I want you to think about now is all 3 aspects of getting that circuitry of energy in line for the power smash. We've got our hula hoop, and the pressure from the spider pushes to get ourselves in the right position underneath the shuttle. We've got our target arm up. We've got our elbow back and a loose grip. Racket angling up towards the bird. We don't want to be angling back here because then we're going to have to use tension to pull the racket head up. So we want that positioning ready and loose. Coming through with the elbow up over the ear, pronating through with the fingernails forward and smacking over top with the wrist, finishing with the pressure of the hand and the fingers, squeezing at the point of impact, and then letting the racket follow through naturally, but releasing that energy so that we can pull the racket right back up again. So that's the assignment for this week. Now we've got all those three pieces. We've got the feet, the racket, and the core. So we've got to add in that core power. The assignment is to do, again, 15 swings, 10 times with breaks in between, on your knees. So I want you thinking about that core power. And I want you to also think about the breathing, because that's really interesting. That's something I learned about later in my career, being able to breathe in as you're expanding your stomach to get that power, and then breathing out in a powerful way as you contract your core and force that air out into the impact. I know this is something that track and field people like shot putters use a lot, or weightlifters. You have to time your rhythm of your breathing so that you can maximize all those core muscles into the shot. So I want 15 shots for 10 sets on the knees, just getting used to that, contracting the core and the breathing. And then I want you to throw it all together with the racket, 15 shots for 10 sets, standing, adding one step up, and doing the complete power smash swing correctly. And I emphasize correctly because it's no sense in practicing something incorrectly, okay? So if you need to have a mirror there, if you've got your training partner to watch and assess, oh, you didn't do this, because you might not realize, like, you might think, yes, I am bringing my elbow over my ear. But actually when you see it, you realize, oh, it's down here, it's not up here. And that's so important to get the full extension to maximize your power and the angle. Okay, awesome work. So until next time, step your game up.